You're standing in front of the mirror before a wedding you're not even the bride at. You turn sideways, you suck in. You've seen the before and after photos on Instagram 100 times this month. Always the same caption underneath. Best decision I ever made. Your cousin lost 40 pounds in 5 months. Your coworker won't stop talking about how her clothes don't fit anymore, in the good way. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a number is sitting there. Ozempic. You've heard it costs around $1,000 a month if you don't have insurance. That sounds like a lot, but you do the math. $1,000 a month for maybe 6 months to hit your goal weight. $6,000. Compared to years of diets that didn't work, gym memberships you stopped using, and clothes you bought in 3 different sizes because your weight kept swinging, $6,000 almost sounds cheap. Here's the problem. That math is based on a story Ozempic was never designed to tell. It was never a 6-month prescription. It was built, tested, and approved as a drug you take for as long as you want to keep the weight off, which for most people means indefinitely. And the moment you frame it as a temporary purchase instead of what it actually is, a new permanent line item in your monthly budget, every number underneath it changes. Today we're talking about the real price of Ozempic. Not to tell you it's the wrong choice. If a GLP-1 medication genuinely changes your health, your mobility, your relationship with food, that can be worth an enormous amount to the right person. This is about the numbers almost nobody puts in front of you before you start, the ones that show up on month 7, year 2, and year 5, long after the first before and after photo has already been posted. Because the real cost isn't the sticker price of one prescription. It's what happens when that prescription quietly becomes a permanent fixture in your life. If this helps you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what financial decision you want me to price check next. Let's start with the number everyone already knows, because it's the one plastered across every headline. According to GoodRx, the average retail price of Ozempic without insurance is about $1,200 a month, which adds up to over $14,000 a year. Other pricing trackers put the range even wider. SingleCare lists the typical cash price around $1,396 for a single injection pen, which works out to roughly $17,000 annually at full list price. So, depending on the pharmacy and the month, you're looking at somewhere between $14,000 and $17,000 a year, out of pocket, for one medication. That's the headline number. It's also, as you're about to see, the smallest number in this entire video. Let's break down exactly where the real cost hides, because it's not just in the price tag on the box. Hidden cost number 1. This was never designed to be temporary. Here's what almost nobody tells you before you start. Ozempic and the other GLP-1 medications work by suppressing your appetite while they're in your system. They don't fix the underlying reason your weight crept up in the first place. When you stop taking it, the appetite suppression stops with it, and your body's hunger signals come back, often stronger than before. A meta-analysis from the University of Cambridge, reviewing 6 randomized controlled trials with over 3,200 patients, found that on average, people regain about 60% of their lost weight within a year of stopping, and that regain plateaus around 75% of the original loss by the time it levels off. A separate 2026 analysis published in the British Medical Journal, reviewing 37 studies and roughly 9,300 people, found that people who stop GLP-1 medications regain weight about 4 times faster than people who lost weight through diet or exercise alone. And most were projected to return close to their starting weight within about 18 months. So the 6-month plan you had in your head, take it, hit your goal, stop, isn't how the drug is designed to work. And that changes the whole math. If the drug only works while you're taking it, and stopping means regaining most of the weight, the honest calculation isn't $14,000 for 1 year. It's $14,000 a year, for as many years as you want, to keep the weight off, which for a lot of people is going to be most of their adult life. Run that forward. 5 years at $14,000 a year is $70,000. 10 years is $140,000. 20 years, the kind of timeline a woman starting this in her 30s is actually looking at, is $280,000. Even at the lower end of the pricing range, This stops looking like a purchase and starts looking like a second mortgage, except one you can never pay off, because the moment you stop paying, the thing you bought starts disappearing. But even if you can stomach that number, there's a second problem waiting, and it's one most people don't find out about until they're already at the pharmacy counter. Insurance coverage is far less common than people assume, and it's shrinking. According to KFF and the Peterson Center on Healthcare, only about 19% of large employers covered GLP-1 drugs for weight loss in their largest health plan in 2025. And that number drops even lower at smaller companies, down to roughly 16% at firms with 200 to 999 employees. A SHRM survey found that only about 23% of U.S. employers covered GLP-1 drugs for diabetes or weight loss at all. And the trend isn't moving in your favor. GoodRx's 2026 tracking data shows the share of people with unrestricted commercial coverage for Wegovy actually declined from 10% to 9% over the past year. And 27 million people in the U.S. still have zero coverage for it. CNBC reported that GLP-1 drugs made up over 10% of all annual prescription drug claims at employer health plans in 2025. And employers are actively cutting back coverage because the cost is, in their words, unsustainable. And here's the part that catches even insured people off guard. Having insurance doesn't actually protect you. If your plan doesn't cover the weight loss indication specifically, and most don't, you're paying the full uninsured price regardless of what your insurance card says, because the drug is only covered when prescribed for its diabetes indication, not for weight loss. That means two women can have identical insurance plans, and one pays $25 a month, while the other pays $1,200, purely based on which diagnosis code is on the prescription. Prior authorizations, BMI thresholds, and mandatory weight management program enrollment are increasingly common gatekeeping steps, according to Ogletree's 2025 analysis of employer benefit design, meaning even a covered plan can still deny you or delay you for months. So the assumption that you'll probably have some coverage is a coin flip at best, and the odds are getting worse, not better. Now here's the part almost nobody talks about, and it's buried deep in the marketing. Nearly 40% of what you're losing isn't fat. The landmark Step 1 trial, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, found that roughly 39% of the total weight lost on semaglutide was lean mass, not fat. A body composition review from Barbell Medicine puts the range at 38 to 39%, consistent across multiple studies. That means for every 10 pounds the scale shows you losing, roughly 4 pounds of that is muscle, water weight, and other lean tissue, not just the fat you're trying to lose. This matters because muscle is metabolically expensive to keep and expensive to rebuild. And that discovery comes with its own bill attached. A joint 2025 nutritional advisory from 4 major medical and nutrition societies, including the Obesity Medicine Association and the Obesity Society, now recommends that anyone on a GLP-1 medication do resistance training 2 to 3 times a week and significantly increase protein intake, specifically to protect against this lean mass loss. That's not optional advice anymore. It's a standard clinical recommendation. If you're actually following it, you're now budgeting for things nobody mentioned when you started. A gym membership or home equipment, averaging somewhere between $30 and $150 a month, depending on where you live. Higher protein intake, meaning more meat, eggs, protein powder, or supplements, realistically adding $50 to $150 a month to a grocery bill. Some people add creatine or other supplements shown to help preserve lean mass during caloric restriction, another $15 to $30 a month. None of these are outrageous individually, but stacked together, they can easily add another $1,200 to $3,000 a year on top of the medication itself. And almost nobody accounts for that when they calculate whether they can afford to start. There's also a quieter cost that rides alongside all of this. This isn't a supplement you take and forget. Ongoing use of a GLP-1 medication typically means regular follow-up appointments to monitor dosage and side effects, and in some cases lab work to check kidney function, gallbladder health, and other markers. A 2025 employer benefits report found that non-diabetic GLP-1 users show significantly higher spending across nearly every category of healthcare, including provider visits, imaging, and lab work, and that this spending increases further in years 2 through 6 of use, not less. If you're paying out of pocket for the drug, you're very likely also paying out of pocket, or at least paying co-pays, for this ongoing medical oversight. Estimate another few $100s a year in appointments and labs, quietly riding alongside the prescription cost. And it doesn't stop there. Many people quit within 2 years, and quitting isn't free either. A JAMA Network Open analysis of more than 120,000 GLP-1 users found that half of participants stopped treatment within a year of starting it, and nearly 3/4 had stopped by the second year. Among people without type 2 diabetes specifically, 85% had quit within 2 years. People stop for a lot of reasons: cost, side effects, insurance changes, drug shortages. But remember the very first thing we talked about. Stopping doesn't mean the story ends cleanly. It usually means watching a majority of the progress reverse over the following 12 to 18 months. So a large share of people are effectively paying thousands of dollars for a result that partially undoes itself within 2 years of stopping, then facing the same decision all over again. Restart the medication or accept the regain. When people hit the wall of that $1,200 a month list price, a lot of them find their way to compounding pharmacies and telehealth clinics offering compounded semaglutide at a fraction of the cost, sometimes as low as $150 to $300 a month. Here's the catch. Nobody explains clearly. This isn't the same product. Compounded versions aren't FDA-approved formulations of the branded drug. They're custom mixed by a pharmacy. And during the periods when Ozempic and Wegovy faced supply shortages, the FDA allowed this practice as a stopgap. Dosing accuracy, purity, and manufacturing oversight for compounded versions are not held to the same standard as the approved product. And the FDA has issued warnings about adverse events tied to dosing errors in some compounded formulations. This doesn't mean every compounding pharmacy is unsafe, but it does mean the price gap isn't free money. It's a trade-off in regulatory oversight that most people choosing the cheaper option were never clearly told about before they signed up. And then there's a cost that never shows up on a spreadsheet at all: the psychological weight of tying your progress to a monthly bill. Multiple patient surveys and telehealth provider reports describe a specific kind of anxiety that develops around insurance renewal periods, formulary changes, and drug shortages. Because unlike a gym membership you can quietly let lapse, stopping this medication has a physical, visible consequence tied to the exact same timeline as your budget. Losing coverage doesn't just mean losing a monthly expense. It means watching a documented, foreseeable rebound begin, often within weeks. That's a different kind of financial stress than most recurring bills carry, because the cost of stopping isn't just no longer paying, it's actively losing ground on something deeply personal. Let me tell you about 2 women who approach this differently. Story 1. Priya, the one who planned for the long game. Priya was 34, a marketing director earning $95,000 a year, when her doctor first raised the idea of a GLP-1 medication for weight-related health concerns. Before starting, she did something most people skip. She called her insurance company directly and asked, in writing, exactly what her plan covered and under what diagnosis code. She found out her employer's plan covered the drug only for type 2 diabetes, not weight loss, meaning she'd be paying full price, close to $1,300 a month at her local pharmacy. Instead of starting immediately, she spent 3 months researching cash pay options through the manufacturer's direct-to-patient program, which brought her monthly cost down to about $499. She built a full year of the true cost into her household budget, including a $60 a month gym membership and an extra $80 a month in groceries for higher protein intake, landing on a realistic total of roughly $7,700 for the year, not the $14,000 sticker price, and not a number that surprised her 3 months in. She also had an honest conversation with her doctor about the plan for coming off the medication eventually. agreeing on a gradual tapering approach paired with strength training, specifically to reduce the rebound effect research has documented. 2 years in, she's maintained her results, her muscle mass is stable according to her checkups, and she's never had a month where the bill caught her off guard. Priya's reflection. I treated it like a mortgage, not an impulse purchase. Once I saw the real number over multiple years, I didn't panic. I just planned for it properly, and that changed everything about how sustainable it felt. Priya's husband Daniel remembers the conversation that shifted things. She came home from the pharmacy with the actual quote, not the number from the commercial, and we sat down and ran it out 5 years. It stopped being an exciting decision and became a boring, normal budget line, which honestly made it way less stressful. Boring is good when it's your health. Story 2. Angela, the one who didn't see the full picture. Angela was 29, working as a dental assistant earning $42,000 a year when she started Ozempic after seeing dramatic results on social media. She didn't check her insurance coverage in detail first. She assumed, incorrectly, that because her plan covered most prescriptions, it would cover this one too. Her first pharmacy bill came to $1,280, more than a quarter of her monthly take-home pay. She put it on a credit card, assuming she'd figure out the budget the following month. She did this for 4 months, telling herself it was temporary, before the credit card balance and the stress of it forced her to stop. Within a year of stopping, she had regained the majority of the weight she'd lost, consistent with the research on rebound effect, and she still owed $3,400 in credit card debt from those 4 months, now accumulating interest at over 24%. She hadn't been told about the lean mass research and hadn't changed her exercise or protein intake while on the medication. So, a portion of what she lost and eventually regained wasn't fat, it was muscle she never rebuilt. Angela's words. I thought I was buying 6 months of a smaller me. Nobody told me I was actually deciding whether to restructure my entire budget for years or watch it all come back. I found out the hard way, sitting with a credit card bill and the same body I started with. Looking back, she describes the moment she looked up the lean mass research for the first time, months after stopping. I read that almost 40% of what I lost probably wasn't even fat, and I hadn't changed anything about how I ate or moved while I was on it. That's when it really hit me. I didn't just lose money, I lost time I could have spent building something that would have stuck around. The gap between Priya and Angela isn't willpower, and it isn't how badly either of them wanted to change. Both had real, valid health reasons to consider the medication. The difference is that one of them ran the multi-year numbers, verified her actual coverage, and built a sustainable plan around the medical research, while the other treated a long-term commitment like a short-term purchase and found out the true shape of it 3 months and 1 credit card statement later. Which one do you want to be? Both women wanted the same thing, better health and a body that felt more like their own. One planned for the real, multi-year cost before she started. One discovered it 3 months in, on a credit card statement. So when does taking a GLP-1 medication like Ozempic actually make financial sense? And when does it become a trap? It makes sense when you've confirmed your actual coverage in writing, not assumed it, and you know your real monthly cost before you fill the first prescription. It makes sense when you've built the full annual cost into your budget, including the medication, the higher grocery bill, the gym or resistance training, and the ongoing appointments, not just the number on the pharmacy receipt. It makes sense when you have an honest plan with your doctor for the long term, whether that's staying on it indefinitely or a structured taper, instead of a vague hope to just stop eventually. And it makes sense when the health benefit genuinely outweighs the multi-year financial commitment for your specific situation, a decision that's real and valid for a lot of people, made with full information instead of a 6-month fantasy. It's a trap when you calculate the cost as a one-time 6-month expense instead of the ongoing, possibly permanent cost it actually is. It's a trap when you never verify your specific coverage and just assume your insurance will handle it. It's a trap when the medication goes on a credit card as a temporary solution, because the interest on that debt compounds faster than most people expect. It's a trap when you ignore the muscle loss research and change nothing about your diet or exercise. Quietly trading fat loss for lean mass, you'll have to work much harder to rebuild later. It's a trap when you choose a compounded version purely on price without understanding the regulatory trade-off you're accepting. And it's a trap when stopping was never actually part of the plan, just something you assumed would happen naturally once you felt done. A few practical checkpoints if you're actually weighing this decision right now, instead of just watching from the outside. Before you start, call your insurance company directly and get the exact coverage terms in writing, including which diagnosis codes qualify, rather than assuming your plan will cover it, because it covers most things. Price out a full 12-month budget that includes the medication, a realistic grocery increase for higher protein, and either a gym membership or home equipment for resistance training, not just the pharmacy line item. Ask your doctor directly what the long-term plan looks like, indefinite use, a structured taper, or something else, so you're not improvising an exit strategy after the fact. And before choosing a cheaper compounded option purely on price, understand exactly what regulatory oversight you're trading away, so that decision is made with full information, not just the number on the invoice. Here's the recap. Now you know the sticker price is $14,000 to $17,000 a year without insurance, according to GoodRx and SingleCare. And that's just the starting number. Now you know this medication was designed for long-term or indefinite use, not a 6-month program. And stopping typically means regaining 60 to 75% of the weight within about a year, according to Cambridge and BMJ research. Now you know only around 19 to 23% of employers cover GLP-1 second for weight loss. And that number is shrinking, not growing, according to KFF and SHRM data. Now you know roughly 39% of the weight lost is lean mass, not fat, according to the Step 1 trial. And that now comes with a formal medical recommendation for resistance training and higher protein intake, often adding another $1,200 to $3,000 a year. Now you know nearly 75% of users stop within 2 years, according to a JAMA Network Open study of over 120,000 people. And that stopping isn't the clean exit it seems like at first. Now you know cheaper compounded versions exist, but the price gap reflects a real trade-off in regulatory oversight, not free savings. And now you know the difference between a sustainable decision and an expensive surprise isn't how much you want the results. Both women in today's stories wanted the same outcome. The difference was whether the real, multi-year cost was calculated before the first prescription or discovered afterward on a bill. I'm not here to tell you whether to take Ozempic or any GLP-1 medication. That's a decision between you and your doctor. And for a lot of people dealing with real health risks tied to weight, it can be a genuinely worthwhile one. I'm here to show you the real cost, the full multi-year version of it, not the 6-month story it's often sold as, so you can walk into that decision with your eyes fully open instead of half open. Knowledge is power. Surprises are stress. The choice is yours, but now it's an informed choice. If this helped you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more real price breakdowns. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. And drop a comment telling me what you want the real numbers on.